Hello again. We keep talking about the planet, the future, sustainability. That's why we are here. Today, right now, we are going to talk about real estate and sustainability. Belas Clube de Campo is considered a case of innovation, and with us is Gilberto Jordan to talk about his experience in creating buildings and communities based on the principles of sustainability. Please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much.
I'll be right with you. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And first thing I want to say is congratulations to Sergio Ribeiro, his amazing team he has with him, and to really pull this off. It's a long process of development and planning in the most challenging of environments, both national and international. So a big applause to this amazing team bringing this together. I'm very happy to be here. We were asked to explain why we do it, how we do it, and I will be explaining the how we do it, and I hope the why will be self-explanatory at the end of my short presentation. We are real estate developers and have been so for 80 years, almost a century. And I grew up many years ago with two very funny realities. My two favorite TV shows as a boy were the Jetsons, and the other one were the Flintstones. And these were basically two stories of two families, very similar, middle class, and living in two extreme worlds, a fantasy world of what would be the Stone Age, and with dinosaurs, which was technically impossible, and domesticated dinosaurs living with them. And the very future, and this was very funny and very creative and very out of the box if you think about what you saw on that show. And the Jetsons were the same, actually exactly the same, a middle-class family of an engineer living in a space age with these wonderful things which flew around and ended up in a box, as we've seen in the video, which I can show again. And so actually these two shows were about families and homes and cities and work and commuting, and with the with the Fred Flintstone's car, which was self-propelled with his feet, or this amazing jet which folded up, and he had a perfect life of a manager, which of course doesn't exist. My personal reality was also molded by having lived and grown up in the Alps and the amazing mountains and the power of the nature there. And then later on in Rio de Janeiro with its incredible nature right in the city. Whoever knows Rio, who doesn't should know it. And the sea. And these two powerful memories shaped me profoundly, understanding that cities and living and nature have to work together. And I clearly remember thinking almost at the end of high school, why doesn't economy and environment work together? And since then I have been working on this. I then went on to study economy. And little did I know at the time of seeing these shows that my family was involved in exactly that, building houses, homes, towns, communities. And between those two worlds were different realities. And of course, we're extreme, but one of these realities was a very practical reality, and which is the reason I'm here. My grandfather designed in the 50s, or conceived, let's say, what he called the bioclimatic city in the hills, the mountains just outside Rio de Janeiro, an hour's away, in a place called Bocaina. and called it the bioclimatic city. And if you look at it, you can see very modern design based around agriculture, obviously, because of self-sustain, trying to self-sustain to a great extent, and all the administrative and business functionalities a city would need. But the reason I bring this is because between those two realities we saw with Stone Age to the future and the visions of, at this time, of the future, which we know from designs from, for example, Frank Lloyd Wright, the great architect, this was a very real proposition. It never happened, but this was very practical, although, and you can see this. And why do I say this? Because what is really important is to get things done. And my grandfather was an entrepreneur, and entrepreneurs get things done. So our approach to development is a pragmatic approach, is a practical approach. Something which you can actually do. But we do it with ambition, with great ambition, introducing and incorporating to the most advanced possible concept the sustainability and resilience. Resilience today is a fashionable word, but we've been practicing it for many generations. So for us, what we want to do is build communities on a very solid footing. And that's what we've done in the past. To live better and to live sustainability. Not sustainable, but to live the sustainability. So it's a noun used as a verb, because it's a much broader concept, a much broader idea than just one's own living sustainability. It is collectively doing so. And sustainability is not only a goal, it is an attitude which we have to practice on a daily basis. I will give you an example of a project started 50 years ago. Because you see, we deal with wonderful nature, with wonderful territories and properties. And it's very nice to have a pristine, closed-off, protected park or nature reserve. Throughout the world we have them, and in Portugal we have many. It's wonderful, but that's not the challenge. The challenge is to integrate human activity, respecting nature, exploring the maximum possibilities of a harmonious development. And this is a good example. It's human intervention in a place called Quinto do Lago, which then became Quinto do Lago, which my father bought 50 years ago, with the famous phrase, less is more, the famous modern architectural mantra, less is more. And 50 years later, this is the end game. And the end game, meaning the whole thing has been developed. It's finished, let's say, its development. And it's a wonderful example of, during 50 years, good management, stewardship of nature and heritage, having come out with a beautiful place to live and spend time. Although it's more focused on resort, it's very much used for daily living by many international clients. So our way of proceeding is preservation to the utmost and enhancement of nature, and I will give some examples to the maximum. Quinto do Lago was rated by Savills, the very known international consultancy, as the most successful property development, leisure property development in the world. And so there's a strong history there. In the 90s, we acquired what is the biggest single managed resort in Europe, which is Vila Moura. Over almost 2,000 hectares, very large property, designed, master planned in the 60s with great care and intelligence, which developed throughout the 70s and 80s in an incorrect manner, let's say. So the urbanism was solid, but the subsequent development wasn't. And we had to correct that. And in the 90s, of course, the challenge of one thing is designing it from the start and developing it with, it's already a big challenge to do that and do it well. But to correct what has been in the past and bring it to modern standards is an even bigger challenge. And this is more or less the challenge the world is facing now. To correct what in the past 200 years since the industrialization has been taken for granted, which is the environment, and bringing it back to a path of equilibrium, let's say. We went on to take the hard approach of managing the estate, because this is a town for 40, 50,000 people. In the summer you have more than 50,000 people there, occupying every corner of the street and especially the marina, which is a big attraction, and the beaches. And we went on to develop an environmental management system for, according to the norm, which was just published in 1997, which is called ISO 14000. And we were the first golf operators in the world to achieve this certification in 1998, so 22 years ago. We went on to certify the marina, and which is a heavy asset, let's say. I think I have a picture. And here the golf course, as I said, and the marina. It has 1,000 boats. It has several thousand apartments around it. It has hundreds of shops, and is intensively used, and had absolutely no environmental consideration. Introducing their environmental management system, get everybody on board, all the shops, all the houses, all the buildings, was a major task. But it was achieved, and we managed to certify it. We then went on to certify. I remember one day I was going to the beach in the morning on my way to the office and looking for the preparations for the summer. And it occurred to me that, and you must think, you must remind, that the beach is a big operation. It employs several hundreds of people throughout July and August, and almost 50 people around the year, and is a big enterprise. So I thought that maybe we can also put it within the reach of an environmental management system. And we called the ISO organization, asked them if there was a beach which was certified, and they said, "No, sir, you don't understand, you can't certify a beach." So I said, "Thank you," and a year later, we achieved the certification, and I sent the fax of the diploma and said, "We can certify it." "Oh, yes, we can," which then was stolen by Obama. But anyway. Yeah. So these are very organized approaches to managing territory, businesses, activities. They're fairly difficult to implement, but they're an excellent instrument to get the organization on board of sustainability. The third and last of the examples is the most recent we're working with on. It's Belas Clube de Campo, which is inserted in a 1,000-hectare park, forest park, just outside Lisbon, actually 15 minutes from here, on the hills. And it's been under development for the past 25 years. And it's, again, as it's been conceived from the beginning, with the sustainability in mind, we have numerous features, which I don't have time to go into, that make it sustainable. One of the most obvious, which this picture shows, actually doesn't show, you don't see there 2 lakes, is the entire urbanization drains all the rainwater to the lakes, which then will irrigate the golf courses. We have almost 3,000 people living there, and it's really a wonderful example of what one can do. In the latest phase, which started 3 years ago, we decided to up our game in terms of construction. And these houses and these apartments are literally packed with environmental features, from photovoltaic production, which will feed into a battery, which then will feed into the house and supply the house with energy. So technically you can be virtually off the grid, to double pipings for black and gray water, so you can recycle the gray water back into the sewage system of the house. Water deposit tank to collect all the rain which falls on the roof and on the property, and then you can irrigate the garden. Hot water production in very advanced bidirectional solar panels, and numerous other features. But the characteristic of these are that they're available. They're on the edge of technology. They're not the latest thing. I'm very much against there was a fashion some time ago of designing and building the utopic house. And that is very unpractical because, I mean, it's interesting for research, but for the development industry, for the needs we have going forward to change the world into a more sustainable path, which is a huge task, you have to look at it at an industrial level. Otherwise, we won't achieve change. So here you see these new buildings with a lot of solar panels and a lot of features integrated with them. They look very nice, very modern. It's no fancy green walls or things like that, because we're very much against greenwashing. Yesterday, we heard that that as a small company surrounded by incumbents who have a lot of greenwashing, we can only tell our story in the past tense. I did, we did, we have it. We don't express much the intention of. We'd like to show what we've already done. And so to conclude, I would like to say that, we can talk about it later too. I mean, these houses, for example, have the highest energy certification possible in Europe. And they were the first to be certified to this in Portugal. And this was last year, the near zero energy building certification. And here you have a view of these 14 houses, townhouses. And we really build thinking to adapt ourselves to climate change. All this urbanization was future tested to resilience. There's a new norm which looks and tests with 20 parameters the resilience of an urban development or a city or a town or whatever. And we submitted ourselves to this certification and achieved the highest possible standard, which is A. So resilience is now coming into the stream of urban development, and we are happy to be already there. So climate change affects us all. I mean, it has to be done by everybody. Sustainability only works if it's performed by everybody, and I chose the word perform because we have to up our game. It's not just doing things. We have to perform highly to the challenges we face. And our vision is a multi-generational, thinking in the long run, and with a pragmatic vanguardism. And I stress again, we're practitioners, we are on the ground, we have to build these things, we have to sell these things, these usually beautiful houses and apartments, because otherwise we won't be able to continue doing so if we don't sell, and we don't sell at a profit. So you have to temper the whole thing with pragmatism and realism. As the amazing Sir David Attenborough said, something that can't be done forever is by definition unsustainable. And sustainability is not only a goal, it's an attitude. And for us, it's really the only attitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We are already at the red line.
Right.
We are already at the red line. I think I don't have any questions.
I get up.
Before I said we could not collect some questions from the audience, but I can. I have that on my mobile device, so if you have any questions now and for the next conversations, please let me know. We are at the red line, so I'm not making you a question
Fine.
because we are running out of time, but just a thought for you to leave us. What about the future? What do you think the future will be like?
Well, I certainly hope that the world gets around and getting its act together. We have 4 crises. One is the climatic crisis. Yeah. Now we have a pandemic, which is a health crisis, and then we have the economic crisis. Unfortunately, given my experience, I think the short stick is with environment. And because all of this, it requires huge amounts of money. And I think one has to think what is in priority for society, for humans, and the politicians. They think a different game.
They need to want it.
Yeah,
we need them to want it.
Their currency is votes. And
yes.
So we'll see how the balance strikes out.
Gilberto Jordan, thank you very much for being with us today.
It's an honor.
Thank you so much. We will be back in a few seconds. Thank you.